Kykar wins Fury versus my favourite, Teferi Temporal Archmage. Yes, we have access to blue mana there, so let's keep that. We're also on the draw, which we don't necessarily want in a control build, especially against control. Let's see if there's a turn 1 mana rock from our opponent. There is not. They get into Brainstorm. Typically, Teferi Temporal Archmage wants to get into mana rocks in the early turns so that they can ramp Teferi out and then untap all the mana rocks and carry on doing other obnoxious things. We'll just go in for a tapped blue source here. And we will limp our way up to our commander. We want to play our commander with some kind of counterspell backup, preferably. And there you are. There's your mana rock that Teferi always seems to get into on turn 1 or 2. On turn 1 or 2, somehow. They always manage to do that. I don't know how. Go for our Talisman of Progress. We want to ramp with mana rocks. It's pretty much the only option that we've got in Jeskai. And that way we've got more chance of holding up that counter magic we were talking about. Okay, not going for Teferi, so let's just get out another blue source. And we'll pass the turn there. We actually couldn't have countered there, so perhaps our opponent should have gone for that. They're not doing anything at the end of our turn either, so yeah, not sure what the aim was there. Just deciding to get down a land and pass the turn, so yeah, we're not going to make a spirit token, but we are going to get some card advantage here from Fact or Fiction. If our opponent wants to counter that, then it gets counter magic out of their hand at least. I would imagine they want to separate the wheel and the coastal piracy here. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought they'd care about Supreme Verdict. So, yeah, we'll keep that. I don't think we care about Supreme Verdict either. I don't know how many creatures Teferi is going to run. So we got a couple of cards there, which is good. Let's lay down our Intangible Virtue. And then we can also go for a tapped Sacred Foundry. We're doing a nice job of progressing our board state here, whilst our opponent just plays lands. And again, not doing anything at the end of our turn. I think they're just playing around counter magic that they think we have. And again, just deciding to pass the turn. And we've got more land drops to make, so we will do that. The more blue that we have in hand, the better. Let's get down our coastal piracy. So we're really setting up for when we actually get our commander into play here. Might actually go for our commander next turn. I think our opponent might be holding up counter magic for our commander. And again, decided not to go for anything. So let's drop a land and see if we can throw down our commander here. And our opponent allows it. That's curious. Yeah, I'm just going to pass the turn here. Maybe our opponent doesn't have as good a hand as I assume they did. If they go for some kind of exile effect here, I might actually let Kykar go. A Word of Invention. That might be... what is it called? Vidalcan Shackles? This is an artifact, isn't it? Search for an artifact and put it into play. We've got Generous Gift. Yeah, we've got Generous Gift, so let's just allow that. If our opponent wants to take our commander, then we can... yep, there it is, Vidalcan Shackles. So they can pay 2 and gain control of our creature with that. Yeah, we're just going to allow it. I might go for Generous Gift during our turn and counter our opponent's Teferi during theirs. Oh, and surprisingly, they are deciding to untap the Mana Vault manually. And then cracking the Myriad Landscape to the Ancient Tomb, so yeah, I don't think they're going to have counter magic held up. They might have a Spell Pierce, that's the problem. But we'll just have to go for Generous Gifts anyway. I don't think they're going to completely tap out. Nope, they're not. Let's see if we can land this. Okay, go for the shore. I don't know if that works for our opponent. Return to their owner's hand all creatures with toughness less than the number of islands you control. Yeah, they're just forcing us to recast Kykar there, and they get a spirit out of the deal as well. Not sure I would have cast that there, though. Oh, and then the spirit got returned back to our opponent's hand, so they didn't get to keep that anyway. They're just forcing us to recast Kykar here, which I don't really have all that big a problem with, to be honest. So let's go for that again. And then we will pass the turn. Just gonna start taking hits from that elephant, I think. But it's better than our opponent keeping control of our commander. This time not untapping the Mana Vault. Gitaxian Probe shows our opponent that we've got an Arcane Denial in hand. Yeah, they look like they're trying to get that Arcane Denial out of our hand. And they might have a counterspell here. But at least we get that out of their hand. Alright, nope, they don't have a counterspell, that's good. 2 cards left in hand now, but they're going to draw a couple of cards off of the Arcane Denial. A Painter's Servant, that is a combo piece, so we need to draw this game to a close as quickly as possible. The chosen colour is blue from our opponent, so they can use, what is it Grindstone? It's one of those mill effects anyway that checks the colours of the cards that you mill and then continues if they all match, which they will with a Painter's Servant in play. We draw into a Wear and Tear. That's really good to get rid of the Painter's Servant. We'll have to hold that up if we see the combo piece. And a Talisman of Creativity. Do we want to get down Gravitational Shift and start really hitting our opponent hard? I think that might be an idea if we're wanting to get this game over and done with as soon as we can. This will give a +2 buff to our flying creature's power and a -2 debuff to the creatures on the ground. We actually got hit hard by our own Gravitational Shift in a fairly recent game with Kykar. Someone got out Elspeth, the one that gives +3/+3 and flying. And we got taken down by a Viscera Seer, if you can believe that. Now we've got 9 power in the air. And that's only going to get worse next turn, especially if we manage to get down the Shared Animosity. And we're also going to draw some cards, thanks to the Coastal Piracy. Whenever one of our creatures hits, we draw. There's a Vandal Blast and a Serum Visions. I'm not going to go for Serum Visions. We could go Talisman into that. But I want to hold up that Wear. And there is Teferi again. There's nothing we can do about that. So let's allow him to come down for the first time this game. Usually comes down way sooner than turn 9. And going for the card draw, surprisingly, so clearly doesn't have anything in hand that he wants to get out by untapping a bunch of mana. A Time Warp. Yeah, I do not like Time Warp. But we'll allow it. And then coming in at us for 1 with the elephant. Yeah, that's not a wise decision because we can just block that, can't we? So let's get rid of that while we can. You never know, if our opponent bounces our Gravitational Shift, it might jump back up to a 3/3. And many a times I've been slowly beaten to death by a 3/3 Beast token from Beast Within. Our opponent clearly forgetting about the debuff from Gravitational Shift there. Again, going for the plus on Teferi. They might be trying to eke their way up to the emblem, but they're still quite a ways away from that. Unless this is multiple turn tribal. Jace the Mind Sculptor coming down now. And going for the Brainstorm. Plenty of card draw occurring here. And they still don't like anything they see, so clearly they were after something specific. Either the combo with Painter's Servant, or some kind of blue Wrath, or colourless Wrath to get rid of our board. Cyclonic Rift, or what is the other one called? Evacuation, something like that. Clearly they couldn't get into that, so we were likely to be winning that one next turn, because we do have 8 power in the air on the field. we were going to get into Swords to Plowshares next turn. I'm not sure that would have been too helpful to us, because we would have gone for Wear at the end of the turn onto the Servant. But anyway, that was quite a good Teferi video for us. Oftentimes we have much more trouble with Teferi, but our opponent didn't draw too well there, and we managed to drag the game out quite a long time on the back of one counterspell. So that went quite well for us. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.